Yeah, why not? That's what they'll do when the time comes, yeah. Yeah. I'm copying slower right now.
National anthem. I thought about doing it with me from Malta.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, Night at the Opera. The whole movie. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
We welcome those of you that are joining us in the sanctuary and those of you that are online with us as well. And to remind you, as you open up the prayer book from right to left, we may have two pagination systems inside the prayer book. We are using Dodger Blue, so please stay on the blue pages. We'll begin or continue on page 121, 120, as we are blessed to have Edward Friend, our bar mitzvah of tomorrow morning, leading us in candles with his family, parents Elizabeth and Nick, and brother Tim. Page 121, 120. Go ahead and take your mask off for this, please. Here you go, bud.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As the brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitchanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light with Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And now that we've welcomed Shabbat, I invite you to welcome the person next to you, wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Maybe wave to someone around, wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Well done. We continue with L'cha Dodi on page 138.
Yam beri beri bye bye bye, yam beri beri bye bye, L'cha Dodi likrat kala. Yam beri beri bye bye bye, yam beri beri bye bye, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Yam beri beri bye bye bye, yam beri beri bye bye, L'cha Dodi likrat kala. Yam beri beri bye bye bye, yam beri beri bye bye, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet, l'shemo tiferet, ve'litila. Yam beri beri bye bye bye, yam beri beri bye bye, L'cha Dodi likrat kala. Yam beri beri bye bye bye, yam beri beri bye bye, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshavat tchila. It'oreri
142, we continue with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi-Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barfuni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi-Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi-Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We continue with Baruch Hu on page 146. Please rise if you are able, either physically or in spirit. Page 148. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chokhma poteach she'arim, uvitfuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, v'mishmerotehem barakir kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, kolel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom mevi layla, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. Page 150.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל,
page 152, 53. I invite us to take a deep cleansing breath in, exhaling out. One more deep cleansing breath in as we feel that sense of Shabbat enter our souls. And all the Mishagas of this past week, blow that out. There's always so much Mishagas.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated as we continue with Ve'ahavta on page 154, led by our bar mitzvah of tomorrow morning, Edward Friend. Okay, my boy.
Ve'avta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'elech asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha b'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shiftecha b'vitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shobecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letodafot b'einenecha uchtadtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha leman tiskeru v'yaslitem et kol mitzvotai v'ditem kedoshim lochechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim leot lachem l'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and be holy to your God. I am Adonai, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai, your God.
We'll turn to page 158 for our Micha Mocha prayer. And if you're with us regularly, you might be starting to get the idea that I like to change up Micha Mocha, change the tune depending on the time of year or the holiday. So this one is in honor, I thought about in honor of our fun baseball series this weekend, but I'm going to stick with the Parsha this week, which is Parshat Noach. And of course, this is a very traditional and serious melody to honor that Parsha this week. I think you'll probably catch on. Kind of squish in a couple words here and there, but I think we can do it. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, micha mocha nedar ba'kodesh nora tehilot, osef ele, osef ele. Let's do that one more time. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, micha mocha nedar ba'kodesh nora tehilot, osef ele, osef ele. Malchutecha ra'u banecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam zeli. Anu ve'ameru, anu ve'ameru, Adonai
Of course, now I want to sing that song now, of course. That's great, Cantor. That was so cool. I love that. Page 161. Give us a place to rest, Adonai, our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, ha-poresh sukat shalom aleinu, v'kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom, ve'avidenu shomreinu, lechaim, lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim lechaim. May you shelter us with peace until the morning comes. May you lay us down with love, and may you raise us up. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim lechaim.
Page 163. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There's a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. Eternity utters a day. We continue the central portion of our worship with our tefillah on page 164. Please rise if you are able, either physically or in spirit.
Adonai sefatar tiftach ufia gita chilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, V'zocher haseyavot be'imahot u'mevi ge'ula livnei v'neihem lema'an shemo ba'ahava Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magin Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Lil Amanai Mechei HaKoat Harav Levoshia Ma'ashiv HaRuach U'Marid HaGashem Mechokel Chayim Bechesed Mechayei HaKol Barachamim Rabbi Somech Noflim Verofei Holim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunata Lifshei Yafa Micha Mocha Baal Gevurot Umedome Lach Melech Mimit Umechaye Uzmat Miach Yeshua V'ne'eman Atal Achayot Hakol Baruch Atah Adonai Mechaye Hakol
Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Amen. Page 171, we join together on the top of that page. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see, wherever we gaze, that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God.
Please be seated.
Yes, we see it too now. Well done. Page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 177. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha lached da'el lehodot.
Page 178. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim
וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Take a few moments to turn your thoughts inward. We'll take a few moments of silent meditation.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri v'goali. Yehiyu leratzon imre fi v'hegyon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu leratzon והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי.
We now focus our energies toward those who are ill and in need of healing, be that a physical, mental one, or spiritual one. On this Shabbat, we think of Sandra Adams, Sally Mendez, Chana Bat Miriam, Eliana Bat Chana, Ivan Aronson, Bob Bell, Robert Berg, Mort Berlant, Dr. Arnold Berliner, Sandy Beinstock, W.L. Bradley, Barry Brown, Brenda Boucher, Rich Burns, Esther Burton, Dr. Ed Kahn, Chu Chi, Sandra Cohen, Carolyn Franklin, Barbara Fiedman, Holly Fugit, Marina Gaffney, Sharon Jenkin, Mandy Gillis, Harry Glaze, Mary Gold, Charlene Griffin, Ted Guglin, Linda Harris, Dr. Gary Height, Jessica Jessen, Mimi Jones, Evelyn Katz-McCosker, Liatzvia Batlibav Elchanan, Shirley Lerner, Carol Lesage, Litia Leos, Bobby Lotman, Austin Lucero, Janice Lucero, Karen Mack, Sid Melbourne, Neil Mendel, Vivian Cooper Moore, Gunther Myberg, Brad Parkins, Gabrielle Pollock, Stephanie Rasmussen, David Rice, Carol Ross, Linda Rogers, Dolores Sams Hoy, Gary Sanders, Laura Sanders, Malachi Sarensen, Donna Shine, Donna Thyman, Pham Tai Trang, Gina Thrower, Wendy Okamwagel, Teresa Walsh, Jeannie Watson, Nancy Weisenfeld, Sue Witten, Sherman Wong, Brandon Yarkin, Madison Zales, and everyone who's suffering from coronavirus. If you wish to add another name to our healing list, I invite you to raise your hand. We thank all those we mentioned and all those who remain unnamed, refuah shlema, a speedy and complete recovery, as we join together on page 371 in Mishaberach by Debbie Friedman. As Kenter mentioned earlier, this in fact is Edward's bar mitzvah portion. I mean, it's Noah, portion Noah, but it is Ed's bar mitzvah portion too. And Ed loves this portion, don't you, Ed? It's your favorite portion of all time. No doubt. Of course it is. It's your bar mitzvah portion. You're a little hesitant on that. But I love what you're going to say tomorrow morning. Actually, the famous Tower of Babel story is within this portion. And I'm not going to bring that up at all tonight because tomorrow, Ed, you're going to talk about that. And I love what you say, actually, about it. I highly recommend, if you can, to be here to even listen to it. It's a very important speech he gives. But this portion is really, I think, a pretty cool one. We all know the flood narrative, and of course, there's a lot one could say about that, but I don't want to talk about the flood narrative. What's fun in that? But in chapter 9, verse 1, it states the following: "You must not, however, eat flesh with its lifeblood in it." Okay? Well, there begins the laws of kashrut, of keeping kosher, baby, right there. And we learn actually a very secret part of kashrut, and that is, when it comes down to it, blood is viewed as life force, and you can't eat life force. So, what does that mean? That means for many of us, when we were young, we thought charcoal was a normal way to eat a steak. I was raised in such a home, I didn't eat much meat, and so my mother, of blessed memory, could make some things very well. Steak was not one of them. And I thought that's just the way you eat it. It's charcoal, and that's fine. I just won't eat much of it, and it is what it is. When I was a rabbi in Cincinnati in the Midwest, my buddy Joe, who was a rabbinic student with me, he said, "Look at Dana, I'm going to take you to a steak place in Kentucky. I'm going to order for you. You're going to close your eyes and eat it." And that's exactly what I did, and that's where I realized, oh, that's where the flavor is. Life force and flavor. That's all I'm saying. And I learned that a rare, my daughter likes it raw, but a rare steak is actually the way to go. But it is interesting that for kashrut, there's really two ways that you can get rid of life force. Actually, three. One of them is the way you would slaughter the animal, which I'm not going to be specific with now because Ray's here. She doesn't need to hear this. But just to say the animal is on it's not treated right, because in order to get the blood out, the heart has to be pumping. Let's just say that. So that's why I actually won't eat kosher meat if I can help it. unless I know it comes from a proper slaughtering house. The other two ways are ones that you're probably very familiar with. My mother was very familiar with one of them, although we didn't keep kosher. She was raised that way, and that is you just burn off all the blood, and there you go, charcoal, hence charcoal steak. The third way, of course, is another really healthy way. Salt it. Bingo. Salt it. Salt it away. You like salt, don't you? Yeah. Not me so much. I watch my salt. So there you go. The life force was viewed as we can't eat this, so we're going to do whatever it takes for us not to have it, which is why Jews didn't eat a lot of meat, I think, and fish and chicken are our go-to, because we ruin the meat. But in this portion also, besides the kashrut introduction, is also the 7 Noahide laws, and I really find this to be incredibly fascinating. In our tradition, how many mitzvot do you and I have to follow, according to tradition? 613. 613. Now, nearly half of those deal with animal sacrifice, which thankfully we don't do today. But in order for you and I, according to Jewish tradition, to get to heaven, we have to follow 613 commandments. But for non-Jews, 7. Now you understand why we'll always be a minority religion. What religion makes it harder on themselves than everyone else? Jews do that. Actually, it's kind of cool, though, that according to Jewish tradition, the rabbis taught us that if one follows the 7 Noahide laws, they would go to heaven, quote unquote. Now, what are those 7 Noahide laws? Well, they're going to make sense to you. They're divided into 2 categories. There's 6 that are negative prohibitions and 1 positive obligation. What are the negative prohibitions? Won't be too shocking. Idolatry, blasphemy, robbery, adultery, murder, and eating meat torn from a living animal. So as hungry as you may be, you can't grab the animal's leg and start chomping on it, against Jewish law. I always found that very interesting. But when people talk about, what about roadkill? In our tradition, roadkill is not kosher. Sorry, Steve. What? That's true. If it's still alive, I guess you can make a rationale for that. The positive obligation is interesting. What is that? It's to establish a court system. Isn't that cool? So if you think about these 7 laws, they're very encompassing, and they make total sense. And in that is a covenant, the Noahide covenant. What's the sign of the covenant? Well, that's true in terms of, that will come later. But remember, there's no Jews yet. You have to wait a whole nother portion. That's next week, girl. Hold on. That Diane's so excited about next week's portion already. Yeah. Things go very quickly in Genesis, in the beginning, that's right. But the Brit, the covenant, is actually the rainbow. That's right. Keshet. And the rainbow, although it's supposed to be a reminder that God will not destroy the planet by flood, it really is, I think, more of the Noahide covenant that it's been a symbol of. And it's a very cool symbol, isn't it? But I love that about our tradition. Our tradition doesn't say if you're not Jewish, sorry. Sorry. Go somewhere else. What it says is join us. What it says is we need to embrace everyone. We're not a people that judges other people. We judge ourselves pretty harshly, but not other people. And I just find that so refreshing. And here we are in the beginning. Last week we talked about creation. Here we are in the story of Noah. And one of the first things that we're taught or reminded of are the Noahide laws. To remember that every human being has a path, has a way to God. And I love that. And so I would just suggest to all of us that as much as we may think our Jewish identity or that which is Jewish may not be where we want it, relax. What's in your heart works. It's okay. Because in the end, we don't need to be so judgmental even on ourselves. Because you and I both know that if we take a look at these prohibitions, at least, they're all human related. They're all about how we treat each other. And even the one positive is about establishing a fair, just world. How cool is that? I love our tradition. And I think the story of Noah is another example of why Judaism is such a beautiful, loving, religious tradition. And I'm so glad that our movement gets the heart of Judaism. Because yes, I believe Reform is the most authentic type of Judaism on the planet. And with that, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's your president and mine, the one and only, Steve Crandell. Where's your kippah today, Steve? I'm missing it. Not. Where is it, Wojciech?
Where's what?
Your kippah.
No,
You forgot your Giants kippah.
I wasn't going to wear my Giants kippah for you tonight.
Really?
No. Just being a nice guy. Shabbat Shalom. I'm Steve Crandell on behalf of the Temple Emanu-El's Board of Trustees. I'm thrilled to welcome you back to the sanctuary for this Erev Shabbat service. Mazel tov to the Friend family on the bar mitzvah of their son Edward tomorrow at 10:30 in the morning. This Sunday at 10 a.m. is our new bi-weekly interactive Musar Torah Studies group on Zoom. The class is based on the book, the Musar Torah Commentary, A Spiritual Path to Living a Meaningful and Ethical Life. That's a long title. And it's co-taught by Rabbi Magat, Rabbi Marvin Schwab, and Steve Matisow. Now is the last chance to join in another adulted opportunity, which is second-level adult Hebrew, for those of you who can read basic Hebrew. This is an 8-session class taught by Phil Hankin on Zoom and just started last week. On Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., there will be a new grandparents group meeting on Zoom, and at noon on Tuesday, the Rabbi's weekly chat. Also on Tuesday, it's not too late to register for this year's Silicon Valley Intro to Judaism class, which will begin this coming week on Zoom. On Wednesday, Rabbi will be teaching his bi-monthly Lunch and Learn, which is now a multi-access opportunity. You can either join on Zoom or come in person. On Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom, Rabbi Magat is teaching the second of a 5-session class on death and dying in Reform Judaism. Diane, I think you thought there were 3. There are 5. I think we skipped 1 week. Is that right? We were looking at the calendar and there were some questions. So. On Thursday at noon, join Phil Hankin and Rabbi Magat for their monthly TV film discussion. This week on the Israeli Netflix limited series Hit and Run. Looking ahead, on October 21st, there will be an exciting zigzag virtual tour of the Leonard Cohen exhibit at the Contemporary Jewish Museum, and on October 30th, we'll be having a Shabbat in nature. Please pre-register for all events, and remember, all services are also being streamed. Shabbat Shalom.
We continue with Elena on page 586. Please rise if you are able, physically or in spirit.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shehu noteh shamayim v'yoser aretz, umoshav yikaro b'shamayim hima'al, ushchinat uzo begovhei meromim, hu Eloheinu enod. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We now come to our mourner's Kaddish. I invite you, upon hearing the name of your loved one, if you choose to stand as a sign of love and grief for that person, and to remain standing till all the names in our yahrzeit list have been recited. Then together we will all rise. On this Shabbat, we're mindful of those that are grieving the Shiva, the first week of mourning for Jamie Marlin Rosen, as well as those that are grieving the Shloshim for Dutchie Henkin, Lubov Katsis. We think as well of those that are grieving the Shana, the first year of mourning for Leon Averick, Robert Baker, Pauline Anderson Berkowitz, Carol Bitter, Hy Birdman, Phyllis Birdman, Roy Robert Creech, Alexander Cunningham, Bill Davenport, Norman Deshotsky, Alan Garshon, Charles Green, Phil Hammer, Bob Hirsch, Selma Karcham, Janet Katz, Kevin Krieger, Hal Lax, Father Bill Leninger, Marion Suni Levin, Michal Lubin, Michael Meltzer, Manny Migdal, Roberta Stivelman-Newman, Patricia Orozco, Richard Peterson, Arlene Ravel, David Reiser, Steve Reese, Stanley Rosen, Steve Rosenthal, Lois Rosette, Betty Rossman, Rosalind Schwartz, Boris Supak, Marilyn Siller, Kit Snyder, Gunther Vogler, Marty Weisblatt, Henry Wild Sr., Florence Winnig, Millie Wolfson. We also think of the following yard sites we observe on this Shabbat, as we think of Charlotte Axelrod, Jean Barsky, Zelda Brust, Lee Chandler, Estelle Cantor, Sharon Chastain, Bernard Delman, Aaron Dorfman, Kenneth Douglas, Abram P. Epstein, Dee Ehrlichman, Anita Faverman, Eugene Foxman, Ellen Sue Freeberg, Catherine Gold, Isaac Goldstein, Jack Graff, Rick Hoffman, Simon Indianer, David Jackal, Dolores Jaffe, Jason German, Rita Kane, Marion Kaplan, Fanny Katz, Lena Koss, Florence Crystal, Minnie Lackner, Minnie Levine, Jonathan Lotman, Saul Manning, Alfred Mayer, Ruth Mendel, Mike Pollock, Alfred Morris, Monty Myers, Abe Ofsioff, Dorothy Osell, Adele Panikoff, Israel Port, Sidney Resnick, Arthur Shimmick, William Schneiderman, Molly Shute, Herman Schwab, Lily Schulman, Lauren Siegel, Boomy Silverman, Florence Spinner, Rita Stoner, Edna Tabor, Helen Wallach, Clara Webb Nord, Barnett Weinstein, Gertrude Wolf. Zichronam livracha, may all the memories of our loved ones endure as a blessing. As we all rise, turn to page 598 to recite together the ancient words of our mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkada shmei rabba, ve'amad yivrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalav uzman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivorach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'rechu, le'olam minkol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran belma v'imru amen. Yehi shlomo rabba meshamaya v'chayim aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'akol Yisrael v'nekunedam v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to those who are bereaved among us, wherever they may be, as we say together, amen. Please be seated. I'm going to go wash my hands.
All right. While the rabbi washes his hands in preparation for serving some challah, we'll close with words of Oseh Shalom. I tried Take Me Out to the Ball Game to Adon Olam. It does not work, so we'll sing Oseh Shalom to conclude our service this evening. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Shabbat Shalom. And we continue with Kiddush Shemotzi in the back.
If we had a little strip light here, because what happens is you guys are in the shade.
On the screen.
Yeah, because the lights are all over your head. Because I don't, you thought about, we could use the spots that we have all other places that have never been turned on.
I'd
I
have to
wouldn't want that
see.
shiny.
I'd have
Yeah.
to see how it affects my
Right.
vision.
Right, but if you did little